G'day YouTube, Turbo Tristan here, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to mess around with some fuel system stuff. It's not the full fuel system fix. I don't have a fuel pump and I'm missing a fitting for the fuel pressure regulator. I'm going to do some maintenance things today, which include changing the fuel filter. I'm not sure when that was changed last. I got the filter from eBay, from Brintech Customs, which are actually some guys I know up in Sydney. Great workshop, and they have the cheapest filters and parts on eBay. So naturally I bought through my friends. So I'm going to change that out. The next thing I'm going to be looking at doing will be capping the injectors. Now I've done some research on this. You grind away the top of the injector and it basically means you get maximum flow out of that injector. So you might take, say, a 300cc injector and turn it into a 700cc injector, for example. I've seen mixed results with that. I've seen the fuel just dribble out. I've seen the fuel spray out. I've seen it then deliver uneven results. So I'm going to try a few things first. One of which will be drilling out the little holes. So they have pinholes. They're really, really fine. Usually they have one or two holes, and that makes sure that the fuel sprays out in a mist into the engine. I'm hoping that I can take a 1mm drill bit and drill away and try and open that hole up a bit. That way it'll give me more injector flow, but without flooding the car full of fuel, just until I can afford some injectors or to get the car tuned. Another thing I'm going to take a look at is the fuel pressure regulator. Now, as I mentioned before, I don't have the adapter which goes on here. So the 2 bolts there, the fuel pressure regulator, that's a factory one. So I don't have that at the moment. So I'm going to see if I can jimmy rig something up. I do have an adjustable rising rate fuel pressure regulator. This is the cheapest one I found on eBay from SaaS or SAS. So this is a 1-to-1 fuel pressure regulator. So every 1 psi of manifold pressure, it's going to raise the fuel pressure by 1 psi. So that's a bare minimum requirement when you're running turbo. So I'm going to get stuck into it and start pulling everything apart. Okay, so the fuel filter is located over here. There's a 17mm bolt on the top and a 14mm bolt on the bottom. It's best to crack these nuts whilst everything's all still in the mounting brackets. Just saves you fighting around with everything. Okay, so I'm going to take a 19mm spanner and put on the bottom just to stop it from moving. That one was really tight. And that just comes out there like so. And on the bottom, 14mm. Alright, so the injector capping was a total fail. Even though the tips on this look like they are pressed on and welded on, just like every other injector that I've seen on the market. So I went full crazy and just kept grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding until I thought a cap would come off, and it didn't. So I basically went all out, full send on the injector, and I'm not going to put that one in the car. So you live and you learn. So I'm either going to find some upgraded injectors and swap them out early, or I'm going to just replace that with another standard injector. It's not a total fail. The fuel rail on the Honda is aluminium, which means I can tap and drill this and put in some new fittings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tap and die, drill this out, and then put this fitting in there, and then that's going to allow me to then run my fuel pressure regulator. Something to do so it's not a total waste of the afternoon. Okay, so I've successfully managed to tap and die the fuel rail, and I've put a 1/8 MPT fitting in there, which is the standard size fuel return line. I've gone and buttoned up the lines on the fuel pressure regulator. Now I've got to find a home where this can live. I've also got some brand new fuel line. So I'm going to dummy all that up now. Obviously I can't put it back together because I munched an injector. I'm sure I'll find a new injector sooner or later. So now I need to find somewhere where this can mount. There's not a lot of places to mount it around here, so I'm not really sure where it's going to go, to be honest. There is a little screw in the manifold there, so I could use that, or I could run a straight bar from there out to here and have it dangling there somewhere, which is what I might do. So I found a really convenient spot to mount the fuel pressure regulator. Where the throttle cable is, there's two bolts that line up almost exactly with the bracket that was supplied with the fuel pressure regulator. So I'm going to mount that up there. It's going to go into the fuel rail, through that fitting there, through the injectors. Anything that's left is going to go up here to the fuel pressure regulator, and then from this fitting down the bottom there back to the tank. So I'm pretty happy with that placement. It's up out of the road. It's not going to get in the way of anything, and it's nice and close to where it needs to be. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to throw all the hose clamps on and button that up. Still got to wait for a fuel pump and some injectors, and then the fuel system's done. So this video is going to be a mishmash of the fuel injector stuff and also the fuel pressure regulator and also the exhaust system. Now, as you can see here, I've mounted the fuel pressure regulator up on this bracket where the throttle cable goes. It actually bolted up pretty much perfectly. I've tapped out the original alloy fuel rail and put a barbed fitting in there with just the fuel line going into the pressure regulator and then back to the tank. I've simplified the fuel rail and given it a clean up. I've taken off all those brackets that seem to cut your fingers up. I did try capping the injectors in this car. Everything looked like just a regular injector capping situation. There was the ring around the top which looked like it had been fused with the cap over there. So I started to grind away, and eventually I started grinding right down into the tip of the first injector that I tried. And I realized that cap isn't going anywhere. For all of you people thinking about doing this at home, you cannot cap Honda injectors from the D16. Lesson learned. I couldn't find anything decisive on the internet that would say yes or no. I've seen a million other types of injectors done and used, but just not the Honda ones. So for anyone playing along at home, can't cap your Honda injectors. So those are going to have to go and be replaced later on down the track, but that's not an issue. I wanted to do that anyway for reliability. The capped injectors aren't a very reliable thing, and they don't always flow evenly, so not the best idea in the world. Anyways, the fuel pressure regulators helped a lot though. I don't know what my fuel pressure is, but it's 1-to-1, so every PSI of boost, it'll raise the fuel pressure. I've also tightened it a little bit, so maybe it's a little bit higher, I'm not sure. But the good news with doing the fuel pressure regulator is I can rev the car to about 4.5 now. So that's a good thing. And you can really feel the boost coming in and starting to make a ton more power, liven the car up so much already, even though I can't rev it all the way out. So it's going to be a bit of a shock when I finally do. At the moment, I'm just trying to figure out an ECU for the car. Now I want to go a Honda. It seems pretty easy software to use. I can set most of it up myself on a laptop and then take it and get it dynoed at my mate Stix's shop and let him, the guru, do what he does best and tune it. I've gotten rid of some of the wires in the engine bay just to tidy it up and clear out all the mess. Weight reduction racing mods, so they're all good to go. We're going to head down to Dalda Exhaust now, get the exhaust done and see what it sounds like. Big shout out to the missus. SJ, thanks so much. With this virus thing and me not working at the moment, and I'll be needing to drive this car a lot more often soon when I am back at work and looking for work. So big shout out to SJ. Love you so much. Thanks for the exhaust. Everyone really, my brothers, my mate Stu, and especially SJ for always supporting me. Thanks so much. Can't wait to see what it sounds like. All right, YouTube, so I've just picked up the car, the exhaust done. They couldn't use that X-Force muffler box that I got out of their bin. There was lots of pinholes in it, and they reckon if they welded it up, just blow bigger holes in there and it'd probably rust out, you know, in a few months anyway. So I ended up getting a different exhaust box for it. So let's listen to it together. Well, I can actually hear myself, which is good. It sounds better than my Ghetto Mods exhaust system at idle, which is good. Yeah, that's actually really good. No complaints at all. Can hear myself, I can hear everything going on. Can hear the turbo a lot more. That's always a good thing. Super quiet compared to what it was. I'm going to go onto the freeway so I can give it a bit of a bootful. That was to 4.5 grand then. I don't know if it's because I've got a little bit of E85 in there that it's breaking up and it's not getting enough fuel, or what. Sometimes it runs good and goes to like 4.5 and probably wants to go to about 5, and other times it gets to 3 and breaks up. So we'll see. I can drive it now, it's all good. I've got to wait for an ECU, and that means waiting for money. But you got to do what you got to do. We've all got to live to a budget. That oil smell has gone. Whoa. So it runs a 2.5 inch high flow 200 cell catalytic converter. We have to run those in Australia. That's just underneath the center console here. So after the first V-band join, the rest of it's mandrel bent 2.5 inch, and then all the way under the floor to the rear muffler is 2.5 inch, but it's just press bent. The flow's fine, it's 2.5 inch, it's bigger, and I'm not worried about not having a mandrel bent exhaust. This is the budget side of things, and all the flow is up the front anyway, so that's all good. Getting that exhaust out of the engine bay and behind me makes the car so much more drivable and sounds great. That muffler makes the car drive so much better. It's actually got a bit more low down torque because of the back pressure, even though that's not really a thing on turbocharged cars, but I can feel it just picks up a lot better. Turbo noises are awesome. I'm going to put the windows down, so sorry for the road noise, it's just really hot in here. No air conditioning, no fan. The compressor flutter or the turbo sounds, or the compressor surge, because I don't have a blow-off valve, is very quiet. It's very soft, probably because we're only getting onto just a little bit of boost, maybe 1, 2. I can't see it make it any more than 3 psi at the revs I'm doing, so up to about 4,000. So I'm sure once I'm revving this thing all the way out to 7,000 and banging off the limiter, if it doesn't blow up, that is, I'm sure it's going to be much louder and just turbo sounds for days. Alright, so I just tried to do a cold start startup video for you, and I gave the car a bit of a rev. There's quite a bit of smoke. So I'm pretty concerned the engine's screwed and it's losing a lot of compression. I've just pulled the plug out of the number 4 cylinder and it's really wet and doesn't smell like fuel, smells a bit oily. There's no real oil down there, but I'm just going to go do a compression test at the moment because there's no point fully boosting the car and turning the power up and putting an ECU in there if it's just going to blow the motor straight away. So I'm going to do a compression test. Okay, so I've got the compression tester gauge in there. To do that, what I'm going to do is just I'm just going to disconnect the fuel injectors so it doesn't try and kick over. We don't want heaps of fuel going in there. So that one, it's pretty good. Up to about 210. So that was all right, happy with that. So cylinder number 3, again, it's all black. It smells like a mixture of fuel and oil. So I'll do the compression on that one now. So about the same, 210. So that's good. Do cylinder number 2 next. All right, this plug is a little bit drier. Still smells the same. Mixture of fuel and oil. Let's get the compression tester in there and tell us what's going on. All right, that's the same again, 210. Really, really good compression so far. Okay, so this plug was actually a bit loose, so that's on me. But a little bit different color there on the tip. Not sure what that means. Smells the same. Bit drier, so they're getting drier the more they go towards the front, which is weird. If any real proper mechanics can tell me what all that means, really, really appreciate it. If this one is the same compression, then I don't know why it's blowing all that smoke. It did look like fuel smoke, but it smells like really crap out the exhaust, so make sure that's tight. All right, cylinder number 1, here we go. So that one was just a little bit under. It's at about 195. Let's check it's tight. Go again. So I did the compression on cylinder number 1 twice. Both times it came back just over 190, which is really, really good. from what I've seen online, that sort of a variance isn't going to make too much difference, especially with boost. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to keep sending it anyway, and hopefully it's just the tune that makes it run so rich. So there you go, we've done the compression fairly even across all 4 cylinders. 210 on 4, 3 and 2, and 190 on cylinder number 1. I'm just waiting on a 4-bar map sensor to replace the factory one down there on the throttle body. Maybe that's going to help it run a lot better. And I've tracked down a supplier for Honda. I'm going to go with Elusive Racing down here in Melbourne. Anyone that's a Honda person is going to know that they have the world's fastest Honda Integra time attack car. Won its class in World Time Attack just gone. So really, really impressive. These guys know Hondas, and I will be doing a workshop tour with them soon. But I've got to save up the money and get me a Honda for the car. And then I'll be able to set everything so it's going to run, be able to rev out, see what boost it makes, see what power it makes, and then start to play with the fuel and ignition. But so far everything's great. I'm going to end the video here. Thanks very much for watching. I'm really stoked that the exhaust is done. I can drive the car. I can rev it to around 4,000, which is perfect for daily driving needs. It does start to make a lot of power, probably into the 1 PSI or 2 PSI range by about that. So I'm happy with that. It drives good for now. No, I can't take it to the track. No, I can't race anybody. I did try against a Honda Accord Euro, although it was making all the noises. As soon as the guy heard the turbo, he just took off, and that was it. I couldn't go anywhere. The car, I wasn't going to fully send it. The car wasn't going to forgive me if I did that. It'd probably explode. But yeah, that's the end of the video, guys. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click like, tap subscribe, and yeah, stay tuned. We're going to do a lot more. The car is starting to really come along now. The turbo's livened everything up. I've simplified a lot of the plumbing. I've cleaned up a lot of the engine bay, got rid of the wiring and stuff that's in the road, and there's still more to go, but slowly making space there. The exhaust done all the way, so 2.5-inch mandrel bent all the way down to the first flange to a 200 cell high flow cat, straight out the back of the car to a 2.5-inch rear muffler box. Sounds great, nice and quiet to cruise. Hear a lot more turbo flutter. I can't wait till that thing is fully making boost and making some really good turbo noises. But until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe, and see you in the next video.